Success in Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Hello all, it's Kerry Lutz. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network, and it's time for another Triple Lutz Report. This is episode 378. The date is February 2nd, 2015. It's Groundhog Day, and for those of you who live chillier climes, well, you'll be glad to know that the groundhog in New York and Staten Island Chuck, is safe. This year, the Mayor, Comrade deBlasio, if you're not familiar with what happened last year, he was handling a groundhog that was purportedly Staten Island Chuck, but it really turned out to be a stand-in Staten Island Charlotte. And these groundhogs are nasty little creatures. And while he's handling it, the thing tries to bite him. He drops it on the thing's head. And 2 weeks later, dead Charlotte the groundhog. And this is covered up by the zoo. They're not telling anyone. The Post breaks the story. So now they've got the thing in a plexiglass box, and deBlasio doesn't have to touch it. And they've got Fish and Wildlife in here, the National Institute of Health, the National Institute of Groundhog Health. As deBlasio said, he's kind of taking it in good spirits. And I guess the groundhog didn't see his shadow, which means that good news for you in New York. Spring will be here quickly. Bad news for natural gas investors, if there are any left out there. That means that heating season's coming to a quick end in the Northeast, but take heart, the battle is not yet lost. Hey, by the way, you just tuned in. We're brought to you by Cloud Hard Assets. If you're looking for gold, silver, gemstone quality diamonds, Tom Cloud is the man to go to. Been doing this for 38 years. No lawsuits, no BBB complaints, just free delivery, free insurance if you're an FSN listener. So make sure, call him on the phone now, 800-247-2812. That's 800-247-2812. And order up now. Right now, let's take a little look and see where precious metals are at, because I know that you're very concerned about them, as am I. I'm not overly concerned about them. Let's face it, they're part of a strategy. They aren't the answer to all of life's ills. I can assure you of that. If they were, well, King Midas would have been a happy man, right? But you need to hold some in a core position. Everybody is different. Everybody has different views. On Friday, gold finished up $25 or so the ounce. Silver was up as well. Right now, gold is around $1,280 the ounce. It's down about $3.50. Could very well see an upside reversal, because earlier in the day, gold was down as much as $10, $11 the ounce. But all this remains to be seen. Silver is down rather a penny. It was down as much as 20, 30 cents earlier in the day at 17.22. And looking at our dollar index, it's down 0.34. It's still at a relatively healthy 94.50. Crude is inching up again. Dead cat bounce, but it will go up for a while. I think Nenner's got him on a sell recommendation, a short-term sell. A short-term buy. He's on a crude oil is on a buy signal. It's trading at $49.33 the barrel. How long that will last is anyone's guess. Dow Jones is up 22.34. Amazing thing. Apple's earnings had the best quarter of any corporation in world history, I think, except for some oil companies out there. It's what I told you from the get-go. I said, no matter how bad the economy gets in the current recession, depression, whatever you want to call it, Apple is always going to pull through. Their products are just in demand. And I likened it to, in the last Great Depression, cosmetics companies. Cosmetics companies never saw a down year because no matter how bad it would get, women would still buy lipstick and eyeshadow and eyeliner and perfume because, look, no matter how bad it is, you still got to look your best if you're a woman. And Apple has taken the place. It is partially, I will grant you, a fashion statement to be seen with the latest iPhone 6, I guess. They're so ubiquitous. They sold 74.5 million of those things in a quarter. And I will tell you that, bigger screen, I've been watching it far less. I've been using my other computers, my notebook, my tablet, and my desktop far less now that I've got this big iPhone 6 Plus. So look, I'll tell you what, this thing, Apple Juggernaut, will keep running for the rest of the depression. As far as I'm concerned, their watch probably will be a success, not knowing exactly what it's going to do. But as long as it's priced in that mid few $100 range and people can scrape up enough money to buy it, then it's going to work. And their marketing program is working splendidly. And they need to be thinking about really currency wars. I guess you can't really tell from their financial statements how much money they've got invested in each particular currency. They're not repatriating. They always said, well, they don't repatriate because they're going to have to pay the outrageous U.S. corporate taxes. But not repatriating, keeping them in renminbi because their China sales are way, way up, or yuan, whatever you want to call it, keeping them in HK dollars, keeping them in pounds. It gives them a natural hedge against the dollar when half their sales or more are coming from outside the United States. So you got to wonder if companies will really repatriate their profits given the opportunity with a discounted tax rate. Some, yes, most no, because the securities rules allow you to report your overseas profits as if they were earned right here and repatriated in the U.S., and then you just report a deferred income tax on your balance sheet. So as long as that's the effect, there's no real incentive for them to do it. They're better off making money over there and borrowing money over here, and that, in fact, is what they've been doing, and then using it to buy up their shares. I think that little daisy chain is coming to an end for all but the most profitable and cash-rich companies. But I didn't mean to get into that. We're just seeing the idea that there is a recovery, the belief, the meme is just getting called more and more into question. The Fed's trying to put out this nice spin, but look at the job cuts that took place recently. And I'm quoting here from Russ Martin's Wall Street on Parade, American Express, 4,000, Schlumberger, 9,000, IBM, at least 2,000, Baker Hughes, it's an oil tool technology company, 7,000, even venerable Coca-Cola, 16 to 1,800 people. And then retailers, we really are seeing retail Armageddon. Supposedly today, Radio Shack, or Radio Schlock as I call them, but I like the store because it's one of the few stores I can get cables and stuff when I need them. Just aren't a lot of electronic stores you can do that. They've got 24,000 workers in 4,300 stores. They're filing for bankruptcy as early as today. The stock's trading at 27 cents on the dollar. It's not so much just the economy. That company's been in trouble for years. But when you go down the list in early January, Wet Seal, fashion name in upscale malls, announced it was closing 338 stores, laying off 3,700 people. On January 15th, they filed for bankruptcy protection. And then C Wonder, which is founded by fashion mogul Chris Birch, who's the ex-husband of fashion designer Tory Burch, announced it was filing for bankruptcy, liquidating all 32 store locations. On January 9th, Body Central is closing all 265 of its stores, canning 2,500 workers, and making an assignment for the benefit of creditors. It's a really unusual way of liquidating, but sometimes that's an old-fashioned way. I've not seen anybody use it, a big company, in many, many years. but it's effectively a state court bankruptcy. Two other names, Deb's Shops and Delia's, both gone. And Cachet, another woman's store that's been there forever, 237 locations spread over 43 states, gone. And, over and over, Kate Spade is closing its casual fashion stores known as Kate Spade Saturday and all of its Jack Spade men's stores. Jones, New York, closing all of its Jones, New York outlet stores during 2015. In Canada, they're not exempt. Canada is going to close all of its 133 stores. Target is closing all of its 133 stores in Canada this year. And that's going to have the effect of putting 17,600 employees out on the streets. It's interesting that those big stores employ only about 130 people each, 120, 130. Sears, you'd heard about them already, closing 235 underperforming stores. And it goes on and on and on. And she applies this to unprecedented income and wealth inequality. Well, look, when the government prints money, as our guest last week said, it helps people that own assets. Joe Sixpack and the average middle-class person, not a big holder of assets like paintings, like shares and stocks, bonds, all that. So, of course, the Fed is going to be helping the wealthier 1% who own assets because printing money helps asset prices rise. Not always. Sometimes it goes to real estate. It all depends. You never know the way that newly printed fiat currency is going to affect the economy. But just watch out. You'll see more retail Armageddon taking place for sure. And, here's a great line from Martin Armstrong. Martin says, anyone who claims to be not a doom and gloomer is either a sublime idiot or a fool in denial. This is not a system that can be sustained indefinitely. Numbers I just told you are proof of that. And he's got a cute little book here, book cover, How to Run a Government for Dummies. I think we've got the dummies already. And look, we got a story here about some kids during the blizzard that never happened. They're going around, and this is in Jersey, and they're passing out flyers telling people that they will, plow their driveways and shovel their walks for a fee. And they got a lesson in government regulations because, well, the blizzard, of course, was a dud. These two high school seniors, one's Matt Molinari, the other's Eric Schneff, both 18. They're going out in the burbs and they're looking to make some extra bucks. We used to do it. And they find out that their town of Boundbrook, I think, it's out there in New Jersey, down Route 22. Any Boundbrook people there or in that county, Warren County, I guess it is, just give me a shout out. My father used to build houses there about 50 years ago. They didn't know that the town had a anti-soliciting ordinance, which prohibits people from selling services door to door without a $450 permit. So guy spots the young entrepreneurs, calls the cops to report suspicious people walking through yards. Police go looking for the couple and find them driving in their pickup truck, ordered them to stop handing out flyers. And a resident saw the young men being questioned and shared the story on Facebook. This is just like the bake sales. This is like the lemonade sales. This is what it's coming to. And but fortunately, there's cops with a brain. Lieutenant Mark Leopold said the ordinance is in place to stop scam artists from door-to-door solicitation. He said kids going door-to-door to shovel snow isn't the same thing. Usually common sense prevails. And the chief of police, Michael Iannone, said his department has no interest in cracking down on kids who want to shovel driveways. He said his department was more concerned with getting them off the roads, and said that, there was a state of emergency. They shouldn't have been on the roads then, but let's face it, the cops were a little bit overzealous and not using that thing between their heads, between their ears that God gave them. And, all too much of that happening. But, the cops didn't do something and then the kids got hit. Forget it. They would be in deep doo-doo. So getting back to our buddy, Comrade deBlasio, the guy is giving away the store like I told you he was going to. The city is going to be bust probably in another year to year and a half. Anyone who gets falsely accused by the city, or the 5 Central Park rapists who turned out maybe not to be, you don't really know what the story was. He gives them out multi-million-dollar settlements. So there's a guy named Rahim Ullah, and he was paid $5,000 to drop his lawsuit. The only thing was, he was a machete-wielding thug who was shot by cops after he threatened them. Exactly the kind of guy you want the cops to shoot before he really hurts somebody. And what happens, he sues the city, and the law department just says, give him $5,000 and shut him up and let's get on our busy day. Settlements happen all the time, and bad settlements, but you do it just to get rid of them. But there are certain cases that you should fight to the death, and maybe this is one of them. The commissioner went nuts over it. Bill Bratton probably put in a call to Comrade deBlasio to let him know he was going nuts over it before he went nuts. But it led to another thing, that there's a thing called the Bronx Defenders. They got $40 million from the city over 2 years. The time the group, they put out a video, basically, with lawyers in it. They're under contract to represent the poor in New York, and they participate in a video calling for the execution of cops. And then when the city is investigating it, they lie about it. Said, no, we didn't do that. But as we found out, they did. So probably won't make any difference. They'll probably just sweep it under the rug. But 3 big settlements, I should say, alone in New York cost $157 million, $98 million in a disputed class action discrimination case in the fire department, $18 million to protesters arrested at the 2004 GOP National Convention, and $41 million to the Central Park 5, the ones I mentioned. All of them, there were very valid, good defenses that certainly wouldn't have resulted in payoffs as extravagant as these. And if he's doing this with lawsuits, can you imagine what Comrade's going to do with labor contract settlements? I think he already gave away half the store to the teachers. The rest of them, shortly, he'll be giving away the rest of it. Mark my words, the city will be out of money, laying off cops and firemen within 18 months, because that's the way these progressives do it. And so there's more things going on in New York State's political scandal. They're after the Republican majority leader. And hey, I think that this guy, Bahar, I don't know if he's going to go after Andy, the tolerant Cuomo, or not. It almost doesn't matter because he's really shamed him. But I think he's going to really do a house cleaning in Albany. If he can get Shelley Silver to talk, it's going to be great. But even if he can't, there's enough dirty hands in Albany that he's got enough people talking that probably there could be a lot of vacancies in New York State's Assembly and Senate shortly. And it says, they say here, it's a rich irony in the possibility that leaders of both legislative houses, one a Democrat, one a Republican, would simultaneously face corruption charges in the, it's, as Sidney Zion used to say, Albany has long been two parties against the people, and the United States is that way. You want to clean up government in the U.S., ban political parties for good. There really is no other way. And hey, when it hits the fan, it's going to hit the fan big time, and it's going to get interesting because here's the thing: these guys, Shelley Silver, it's a funny story here about him, but he was talking about some other guys who was going to replace him when he saw fit to retire, and he was laughing because, he said, they're just a bunch of mediocre hacks. And if the two leaders of the Assembly and the Senate are gone and you have a bunch of incompetence, this could spell disaster for New York State in a way that we never thought possible. Talk about black swans. I mean, we could be looking at a collapse of New York State because we have nobody competent left to run the state, to run those houses. And in the words of Shelley Silver, he said, he was reviewing his potential replacements before he got indicted. And he said, have you looked at them? With a chuckle, a well-known Albany figure recalled. Which one of them do you think could do the job better? Tell me, Silver continued, this time breaking out in laughter. And the influential Albany figure said it was clear that Shelley was saying what people are saying today, that it is really a mediocre crew, to say the least. Mediocre, like mediocre, I mean, like incompetent, like maybe we get the government we deserve, but if this is what we deserve, then we are really, really, really bad. And hey, when we come back, I just want to share a quick story with you about a New York City teacher on the Financial Survival Network.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Every week, the show is growing. Would you like to be a part of it? Then go to clubfsn.com and help support us with $1, $2, $5, or $10 a month and get a host of premium content with newsletters dropped into your mailbox, free books, private audio clips, webinars, and much more. Then join clubfsn.com. If you want to get ahead of the trend and ensure your family's financial security before it's too late, go to clubfsn.com and sign up.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And thanks for tuning in. It's Kerry Lutz. This is Triple Lutz Report 378. So there's a story here. You're just not going to believe this, but if it were only just New York and not the rest of the country, we could deal with it. But it really is all over the country. It's happening. And we're talking about the incompetence of government, the incompetence of the inability of government to perform things like education. This teacher, we're going to hear about 6 years unsatisfactory. And she's rated unsatisfactory for 6 years. It's unbelievable. And the city's Department of Education has failed to fire her, tried to fire her twice. Her name is Ann Allegra, 44. She's a first grade teacher at PS 173 in Washington Heights. And she's racked up 6 years of failing her students. And they had a 16-day termination hearing, if you could believe this. I mean, 16 days it takes to prove this person is a total incompetent. And the hearing officer, who should also be fired because he's obviously an incompetent, Eugene Ginsburg, upheld charges of Allegra's inability to supervise students, excessive lateness, and absence and poor lesson planning in the 2012-13 school year. But Ginsburg dismissed evidence that Legro was a lousy instructor, saying she didn't get enough coaching. And he only imposed a 45-day suspension upon her without pay. She gets to keep her $84,500 a year salary, but is now assigned to a pool of 1,400 teachers who serve as substitutes. And no wonder Governor Cuomo last month called the teacher evaluation system baloney after it was revealed that fewer than 1% of the state's teachers were rated ineffective. But the problems here, like we've been talking about for years, like Marcella Sills, the principal of that school out in Far Rockaway, where they didn't have books. So even after, so long as a obviously incompetent teacher, they can't get rid of her. Got to change the law here. The unions obviously run the asylum called the New York City Public School System. Break it up. Let's just dump the thing and start over. Make everything a charter school. Do something. And this guy says this with a straight face. The DOE said the case is under review. We are committed to having great teachers at the front of all of our classrooms. That's their spokeswoman, Devorah Kay, another person who seems a little bit detached from reality. And so this is the second time that Legra came up on charges. She was hired as an aide 23 years ago, became a teacher at PS 173 in 2001. Officials said in a prior settlement, she admitted excessive absences from 2009 to 12. The DOE let her off with a $2,500 fine. This time they went to trial. And in one example of her poor management, PS 173 assistant principal Kevin Goodman found Legra's classroom in chaos. Students up out of their seats, at least one was running, another was demonstrating karate moves on the closet door, and the majority of the students were not involved in anything instructional, an issue that has repeatedly plagued your tenure as a classroom teacher, he wrote at the time. 3 of her 6-year-olds were injured in a classroom melee that day, he added. Amid the mayhem, Goodman wrote, Legra was buried in a corner at a computer table where she could not monitor all the kids, and she said she was resharpening pencils that were too sharp to prevent accidents. She claimed the students were walking around the room working on word activities. So listen to this. Think if you could keep your job if you had a record like this. Over the school year, she was absent 27 times and late 37 times. And she said she suffers from asthma and had to go to court for a custody fight with her ex. I wish her ex the best of luck in that battle. Hope he gets the kids, because she don't seem too capable, does she? And job protections for tenured teachers make it difficult to fire bad apples. The system requires that each charge be proven in a trial with witnesses, documents, and arguments. And the DOE must show the teacher was given training and chances to improve. And the hearing officers are picked jointly by the DOE and the teachers union. Great. That works out just so well. Can't believe it. And frequently balk at termination, the hearing officers, instead ordering a fine or suspension and requiring the teacher to take courses. And they go to Legra at her home in Fort Lee, New Jersey. First, she insisted she was not the PS 173 teacher, but a friend named Margaret Morell. And then she later admitted that she was, and claimed she was harassed and targeted because of her high salary. And she said they really want to get rid of workers who are there for a long time, she said. She also complained she had no help with some special needs kids. And now she's filed a federal lawsuit against the DOE, charging discrimination based on her race, gender, national origin, and medical disability. And there you have it, why government should not be involved in something as important as education. Get them out of the business of educating our children, please. I mean, take a picture of this lady. It's scary. Article appeared in the New York Post on February 1st, 2015. Susan Edelman, one of my favorite writers over at the Post, wrote it along with Amber Jameson. Don't know her, but Susan Edelman, really writes a lot about failing public schools. And, I hate to say it, but she really covers it well, covers corruption, a lot of different things, topics. And you just need to really understand that this is what happens when there's no accountability, when the government runs something. And if this were the only thing they were running, we could say, okay, this is the way it goes and just move on to the next thing. But it's everything, whether it's the economy. I mean, they think they can run healthcare. That's going real great. Issue after issue after issue. So, hey, by the way, if you want to support the show, go to clubfsn.com. That's clubfsn.com. Any contributions appreciated, and there's all sorts of benefits there for you. So just take a look, and hey, all the links, subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, all that is on the site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. And please take a look at the site. Our webmaster, Stefan, spends literally hours and hours each day there. That's why the traffic has been going up so dramatically, because so many of you see the value in this site, and you'll find all of my archives there. And, a lot of people that you care about, that you want to hear from. Jim Rickards, always on there. Ambrose Evans Pritchard from the Telegraph in the UK. Jeffrey Lewis is there. Zero Hedge, we're always linking to. You name it. We are always looking for issues, for stories that are going to give you the most and help you understand exactly what's going on. I mean, we love Carl Denninger, even though he's still writing. He's just not doing it for profit, I guess. We just want to see all of you get informed. Good article by Mike Krieger today about empty skyscrapers in the U.S. While homeless population's hitting record high, we don't really know if that population's hitting record high because there's record numbers of homeless, or because Comrade deBlasio has reduced the standards, so it's so easy to get on the homeless list, and then you get a public housing ahead of everybody else. So it's a real bad situation. Things you need to take a look at. Our friend Andy Hoffman's on there. So, hey, it's a lot of things you need to be looking at, and you just really got to be on your toes here. Situation is so fluid. It's changing so quickly, and we just don't know where the first crack is going to be, where the black swan's coming from this time. Just don't know. But one thing you can be certain of, it's coming. If you're not ready, you're going to get burned. And I don't want to see that happen, especially because you had years to prepare for it. Don't be fooled. Don't let them manage your perception, your perspective, because look, there are things happening. There are trends that are going to affect all of you, every single one of us, me, you, the next person. And to prepare for it, to be ready as you can. That's what life is about. Trying to see what's coming up, make a plan for it, and get ready for the trend, because the trend is going to move ahead whether you're ready for it or not. So financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Make sure you take a look at the site. Sign up for the newsletter. We got a great webinar coming up in another week and a half, 2 weeks, and really want to see you there. That's how you get notified of it. And we'll talk to you soon. This is Kerry Lutz signing out. It's been another Triple Lutz Report.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.